Hi, in this video I will show you how to put together the 3D Cupcake, which is a little cupcake box, which is an SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. So here are the pieces. For this particular cupcake box, this is two versions of it. I mean, it's the same box on the bottom, but there's actually two different sets of panels that are slightly different. So let me just get them side by side. So we have a panel that's kind of curved, which I'll be doing with the demo, and then this panel. So they just both get centered, so no different, but it's the same exact bottom box. So if you look at this though, we have two different tops or lids. So we have this one, which you can see it's just kind of a uniform. It's going to be the easier of the two to put together. And they both fit in the same box. And then we have this one. So I just lift it off. And you can see it has a little swirl. It's a little bit different, but like a swirl. So obviously I've already done those ones. So I'm going to show you how to do the top piece and the two top lids and the boxes. So here's another box. I'm ready to go for the next two that I make. So it'd be a nice size. You probably you could fit a little small cupcake in it, or a little gift. So you can see this is that one panel, and then we're going to be putting on the curly panel, the little curved panel, on this blue one. So and then we have two sets for the tops. So you have we're going to do a chocolate version here on the left. So we'll do that first. That's the easier of the two. And then we have this, kind of like a vanilla. I was thinking of vanilla version. So you only see this part, but I still kind of wanted to see, like, you see part of the cupcake when you have a cupcake, and then this would be on the top for the top panels. But we're going to do that after we do this first set. But let's first do the box. So this is the simplest piece. So we have two bottom pieces. And then you have these two side pieces. So it's pretty simple. It's 8-sided, so it's an octagon. So you just want to go make sure that you score them good and well, or fold them on the score lines, and then just like so. And I like to do it before I put the panels on. I'm using American Crafts textured cardstock. There's a link in the description of the video and on the product description if you're interested. It's my preferred cardstock. I like the texture and it really folds well. But I like to fold them first because it gives me an idea. I can see the edges better. So when I'm trying to center a panel, that's the reason why I do it. So we'll just go ahead and put these on. So you can see I'm just going to center it. I'll get my glue bottle going. And I am using art glitter glue and a little fine tip applicator. You don't need a lot for this type of glue. A little bit goes a long ways. So it just kind of gives it, I just wanted to be able to give you some choices on this particular cupcake box. So you have two different options of lids and two different style of panels. So I'll go ahead and finish putting these on, and then we'll go ahead and assemble this piece. So we have the panels on, and if you're wondering, for all these little panels I use this little Echo Park paper. It's birthday wishes. I'm not even quite sure if it's still available, but I got this I think late last year. So I'm sure it is. It might be even digital, but I like the little 6x6. I could actually cut those on the 6x6 because I like the different patterns on it. So what's nice about these two, it's double-sided. So anyways, that's what I used. So we'll go ahead and glue these together. So we're just going to add glue to this side tab. We're going to line up this edge right up to that tab fold. So you just want to get it, you don't want to get it over, just right up to it. Line it up. and apply pressure. And what's nice whenever you have like a polygonal, if you have a tab on the other side like this, you can just fold it on any section. And then we can go add glue to that tab. Get that excess glue off. And just line it up. It might just take a little bit of movement to get it lined up. If it's a little bit off, it's not a huge deal. And then now you have the outside of it. So I'm going to flip up in these tabs. And what I'm going to do is we're going to add glue to the inside of these tabs, and we're just going to line that up in there to the sides. And then do the inside, and then we'll glue on this outside piece over it to hide the tabs. So the best way to do that is to just go ahead and, I know you're not going to be able to see everything I glue, but we're just going to add glue to the tabs there. And the nice part is, I mean, I don't want to be super messy or anything, but I'm putting enough on, but for some reason if it goes through the bottom, I'm going to be covering it with that bottom panel. So when I put it in there, I'm just going to line up one side. Oops, I want the textured side up because I have textured paper. I'm going to want to be able to see the texture inside. I'm going to line up one side. So I'm lining up that side, and then I'm just going to go around and push in and apply pressure as I go around. So I'm just kind of pushing in the side so I can get this little panel edge into the inside fold. And then just apply pressure around. So you can see that's what it looks on the bottom. And we're just going to go ahead and glue this on. And then of course I have the textured side. The non-textured I'm gluing onto that side. If you do use textured paper, it's just to get the pretty side out. That's all. So I'm just adding glue to the edge first. Get as close to the edge as you can. If it leaks out a little bit, I just have a little wet paper towel that I can clean it up. So I'll show you here. And the reason you want to get as close as possible because you don't want any big gaps or anything. So just get it fit in place. So just line it up. And so once I rub the edges a little bit, you just can go ahead and really put some pressure around the edge here. So I'm just trying to get it so there's no gaps around the edges, or minimal gaps I should say. There's only going to be a slight gap. And a little pressure in the middle. So you can see I'm just trying to get that I'm working with a lot of paper this week, so my cuticles are really messed up. So sorry about that. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and just stack that because I have two of them for the two lids we're going to make. So we're going to move on to the first lid, which is I'm making it kind of a chocolate. This is the part that's going to show. So like a dark chocolate cupcake with a chocolate frosting panels. So, oh, that's not the way we do that. We want to fold these. I thought I was using that panel, and I'll show you that in a minute. So I already folded all these, and you can see, I'm just going to angle it so you can see how it's folded. So it's folded there, there, there. So you want to do that for all the panels. And there's 8 of them. And then for these to get them prepped, you see they're kind of curled. So what I did is do this. And we'll put those on after we get the actual structure of the lid put together. So for some, this is not their first rodeo putting this together the way I'm going to show you. But for those that are, I'm going to try to give you some tips along the way here. So all these are going to just kind of go side by side and glue together. Go down here, move that out of the way, and just glue all the way around. So if you can see, these tabs right here are going to glue underneath. So we can start with the top one. we're going to go ahead and just add glue carefully. I'm just adding glue to that top one. Now, once you get a little bit more versed at doing this, you might do 2 at a time or all of them at once. So I'm just going to line this up so that tip matches up there. So this whole section matches up to the score lines. So what we're doing is we're anchoring on this one tab. And once we get it anchored in place, and you can see that's what it looks like. Hopefully it's showing in light. And that's why I made the more difficult one a little bit lighter, so it was easier to see when I assembled it. So hopefully I moved it around enough so you can see it. So once we get that first one attached, we can go ahead. I know how quickly my glue dries. Oops. I'm just going to flip it over. Sorry about that. I'm going to add glue to all the rest of the tabs. And then we're going to, going from the top to the bottom, we're going to attach the tabs to the back of the adjacent panel. So we're going to go tab by tab. And if you do get a little, obviously, glue up here, you can see I'm kind of matching it up, making sure that edge matches up to the tab fold using my finger or my thumb. But if you get a little glue on the outside, it wouldn't make a huge difference except for down here. You don't want to get glue on the outside down here because that'll be seen. But up here, like up to this lower score right here, the panel will cover that. So if you get a little glue on the top, it'll be covered by a panel. So we'll go ahead and do the same process. You just keep on going around. There's 8 of these. So it is beneficial to anchor that top one first. Put it in place, which lines it up for the rest of it. So if you can get that one in place, the rest will be, you'll be in better shape. Then again, there's another way of holding it. Where you can just kind of flip it up, and I'm holding it on the tab, so at the same time it's also creating pressure to hold it in place. And then we just line it up. Like I said, I kind of run my finger or my thumb, just making sure that the edge matches with the tab fold. And if this is new to you, you just take it slow. Once you've done a couple of them, it gets way easier, because this is a common thing that I utilize for anything that's somewhat round. But I kept the scores in it to make it easier to put together. Sometimes I have removed them on other to make it a smoother look. So we'll just go ahead and add the rest of these and glue them on, and then I'll come back to you so you can go ahead and watch the rest of it, and then when we get to the point where we have to close it up, I will come back. So we're on the last one, but I wanted to show you how you can hold this, because a lot of people may get stuck at this point, and it took me a while too, where you kind of try to keep it under, but when it starts kind of pulling together naturally, it's difficult. So you can kind of let it overlap. You can see this is what it looks like inside. See if you can see it. It's kind of light in my bit. You could trying to get the light, but I'm not quite sure why you can see it. But when you can see that this is overlapping, so that's how I'm going to put it on. I'm going to just go ahead and do the anchor. And if you were watching through all the sped up assembly, you'll see that sometimes I did more than one tab, but essentially I was always anchoring the top. But I want to show you that you could hold it on the outside a little bit for this last piece, until of course we have to close it up, and then we have to close it up. So just be careful, because it starts giving you a lot more pressure up here. So you want to make sure it's good and secure before you go ahead and do all the rest of the tabs. And you can angle it however it works for you. I'm angling it probably not naturally how to angle it. It's just because of the video. I know where my camera is, so I'm trying to make sure that what I'm doing is helpful to you. And so I'm just going to go ahead and just keep on matching this edge up to the tab fold there. Going down. I have that last piece. So I want to make sure this one is good and secure, because when we put the pressure on the last one, you kind of have to open it up a little bit, right? So I'm going to put those tabs. You see it right there. We'll put those tabs on the inside now, so it's overlapping with the tabs on the inside. But I'm going to have to kind of give it pressure on the outside so I can put glue. I'm kind of spreading it apart with my fingertips. This is where the little fine tip applicator comes in handy. We're going to go ahead and add glue. That's really the tightest space up there. Oops. I'd be a little bit more careful if I didn't have panels that I'm going to put on there. So for this one, I'm going to add glue to all the tabs, but I have to keep it kind of separated, because it's hard. You could reach inside and do it. You could do a couple tabs and then reach inside and fold back the tabs, so that's another option. Whatever works for you. So there, I'm lining that up first. I know I have a little glue leakage, but I want to make sure it's good and secure before I move on. Coming down, get the next tab. Just get a little water on my towel. My glue will dry clear. It's just a matter of right now. It's just not. It's just peeking through. And we got 2 more sections. Then we got it all closed up. So if you want to, you can always go up, kind of lift, feel in, make sure it's good and secure. You can look inside, see if any flaps are kind of coming up. Otherwise, you essentially have this top done. So now we're going to put on the panels. Again, you want to go ahead and you can do something like this to curl it. You can use a tool to curl it around too, just to help you place it. But we're just going to place it like that. So you could put a little glue. It's just going to kind of go around like that. So you want to start at the tip. So when I add glue to this panel, I'm kind of adding glue over here. You could actually not put a whole lot there, but I like to do that. But I like to put as much, get towards the tip as I can. And then maybe somewhere like that. Because the panel's a little bit longer than that bottom score. So it hides that score line. So you want to get it kind of secure on the top and centered in that each section, and then you can just rotate it a little bit if you need to. And then just apply pressure. So the glue I put in there is just holding it in place from on the sides and the top. So if you want to just go ahead and do that for all of them. And you could just, you know, you could also emboss it before you put it on. This is embossed, which is use an embossing machine with embossing folders. That's always an option if you want a little bit more dimension. This one I selected not to do that. But I did that. I'll show you another example if you don't remember the one I showed earlier. So just get that tip in place. Then once you have it in place, you can go ahead and kind of pull it down and make sure it's centered in the section. Kind of gives that round look. I have a little glue on my fingertips too, so you see a little dry glue. So I'm not going to put you through the pain of watching me put every single panel on, but you just want to go around, put those on. And here's one right here. See, I already embossed that. So once I embossed it, I just did the same thing. And then I ended up actually using stickles, which is just glitter glue, to dab different colors. I was just playing around. So that's an option too. So I'll go ahead and finish putting these on, and then I'll show you what it looks like. I'm just adding this last panel, and you can see that now it's looking more like the rounded feel and not so scored looking. And you can go ahead and you could add little embellishments on the top. You can make little sprinkles or something like that. What I'm going to end up doing, so here we go, we have this. You could just do it like this. Put somebody's name on it. You could put a little stick and put somebody's name, like or like a number. I mean, that's another thing you could do for somebody's birthday, or just happy birthday on the top or something like that, or like a twine. So there's other ideas. I'm actually going to put this little cherry on top. So this is a cherry from the milkshake box. So we're not going to do that right now, but I'm just going to put it on. I may actually put a little bit of something else on there to give it like little sprinkles or something. So, but that's the basic way of putting it together. So I'm going to use it. Goes really well with this yellow box color. So there's another one. And it just kind of fits in there. Just sits in there. So it's kind of a fun thing to give away for a birthday, or do a couple for birthdays. Just something quick together to put together. So we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and put together the second one, second lid. And it's like this, of course, without all these little bling things on it. But you can see how it's kind of curved around. So it's a little bit of a different look. So we have these two pieces for the bottom edge, and then this is similar to the first one, except for when you have this little angle, it's a little bit different. So I'm going ahead, I already scored the other, folded the other ones on the score lines, but this is how it folds. So you want to make sure that you get it good and folded to help you put it together. And what's nice is about putting those panels on, which here's the same thing, the longer part is going to go like this. So this longer piece goes toward the bottom. So I just kind of curled them a little bit just to get them prepped for when we get the actual structure of this lid put together. So here's your second lid. So let's go ahead and we're going to put these together first, and then we'll put that bottom section on. So similar to the first one, we're just going to go ahead and anchor that top piece, and you could do two at a time if you feel so inclined. You feel like you're getting the hang of it. but same concept. It's not much harder than the first one, honestly. It's just the bending and it gets a little bit harder when it closes it. But as far as putting together for the first couple panels, it's not that difficult. It just starts to close a little bit different. So again, I'm just going to flip that up and add glue to these remaining tabs. And with the first one, I said something, you can see I'm just like folding it and angling it around to get it lined up, this edge lined up with that fold, tab fold. But the same thing with the other one is, if there's a little glue that gets on this part, as long as you're putting those panels on, it shouldn't make a huge difference. But the biggest thing is just getting this edge lined up to the tab fold, so you can see how it goes and what it looks like on the inside. So I'll do another one. We'll anchor that top. I have a little glue on my fingertips. Let me get that off. So always nice to have a little wet paper towel to the side to get the excess glue off your fingers and the project where it doesn't belong. So we're anchoring this top piece. So I just want to make sure I get it in place so that tip lines up, and then these two anchor the adjacent the adjacent score lines, I should say, line up, so this section lines up. Once we get it in place, however you want to do it, flip it around, whatever's comfortable for you, and just add glue to the other tabs. This has a weird top for this. Actually, there's a reason I like this fine tip applicator, because of the way that the lid goes on. It's got this little thing that comes up like this, instead of a pin, which I was using a Darice for a while, but the pins kept on breaking on me, so I switched to this. The only big issue with this is that it has a really small neck, so you have to pour very carefully, and it only works with runny like thinner glues, which is like art glitter glue. So let me put this together before it dries. So that's the beauty about knowing your glue, you know how long it takes to dry. So I do still use Scotch Quick Dry, but Scotch Quick Dry actually dries way faster than this, so it gives me a little bit more wiggle room, and I need a lot less. And honestly, I had a fine tip applicator for Scotch Quick Dry, but for some reason it kept on getting clogged, so even if I clean it, it sometimes breaks my fine tip applicator. So I do use Scotch Quick Dry. This is art glitter glue, but I do prefer art glitter glue now for most of my projects. Just if I use a lot of glue that I need a lot on a tab, I'll use the Scotch Quick Dry. So this one I actually put glue on both two tabs. So you can do that. It's up to you how quickly you can assemble your project. So you can see it just kind of lines up quite nicely. It just gets a little weird sometimes around these last two tabs. So you can go ahead and watch me, and I'll come back. You're going to want to do similar, like I said. I'll come back towards the last panel, and we'll talk about how we close it up. You see we're on the last piece, so I had that last panel on. And then we're going to go ahead and flip it under just like we did, so the tabs are on the inside. So, and then what we'll do is we'll just go from the top to the bottom to glue them on. So here's a way to do it incrementally. So if you just want to do the top one first, you could just put glue on that. And flipping them under. Get that in place. You may hear barking, by the way. My dogs are eating dinner. It's dinner time where I am when I'm filming this. And I'm not in a soundproof area. But anyways, so we got that taken care of. So you can do them all at once, or you can do them one at a time like that. But I would recommend just go ahead and once you get that first one in place, add glue to the other two tabs. And just go from the middle here, just continue down just like we did the other panels. And just applying pressure, lining it up. It's kind of a fun, this little twisty thing that I tried. I like the effect. I wanted something that kind of reminded me a little bit more like the twist of a frosting. I mean, not exactly, obviously, but something that could be made easily. I mean, I could make it very detailed, but one of the goals I have is not making things too hard for the masses, although you can get really detailed with 3D paper craft. And anyways, I try to stay in between because I know a lot of people are limited in what kind of crafting they can do. So you can see this is the top of it. So we're going to go ahead and add this bottom edge. So we're going to do that first before we add the panels. We'll just go ahead and I'm going to just glue this tab. Now, there's a couple ways you could put this on. There's always more than one way to put something on. I'm going to show you one way. The other way may get it a little difficult, but it is doable. So the way I'm not going to show you, I'll tell you about. I did it the other way too. So you could essentially glue this like this, and then add glue to these and glue it on the inside, because it just goes on the inside of every section and lines up. However, it's hard to add glue when you have to pull them down. You can't really, you can add them as, you can try to add them like all at once, but it may dry on you as it's going around. So the reason I'm going to do it this way is because of that issue. So this way, I'm going to go ahead and start with one side. I'm going to choose the side without this tab, and it doesn't really matter because at the end we'll just attach it. And I'm going to go ahead and line this up underneath. Let's just go ahead and fold these in. I'm just going to go tab by tab around. So the biggest thing, just like the top, keep on dropping things. The biggest thing, just like the top, is to line up this edge. I have a dog trying to get in, scratching the door. I had to stop for a minute. I had dogs demanding to come in, and they distracted me a bit. So I was off a little bit on this first thing. So I glued it on the inside there, and it is a little bit awkward, I'm not going to lie. But I'm going to go ahead and add glue on the second tab. And I'm going to get this, see it's a little bit off, so I'm just going to make sure I'm compensating it by getting this in the right place. Half the battle is just getting it in your hand at the right angle. So lining up that edge to that tab fold. So the very first one I didn't line it up really well, but we're just going to continue around. I know it's a weird tab shape. It's kind of rounded at the same time, so I'm kind of like rounding it, but you can see that I'm trying to get this edge lined up to the tab fold here. I'm making sure that this lines up with that little corner. So that lines up with that. So we'll go ahead and continue. At this point, I just say be patient. I think this is the hardest part about this whole box. I'm just kind of feeling behind, because it feels kind of gets rounded right here. So you're just kind of rounding and feeling that tab from behind. It's just the nature of this particular shape. But anything that kind of has a round or twist like this, it's going to have a little bit more level of difficulty to put it together. And if you are unsure, you could always just do like cut it out with some spare paper. Like I have cardstock. That's not my good cardstock per se. Like my American Crafts is my good cardstock. Then I have some cheap cardstock that I do test cuts with, because you know this paper gets pretty expensive. So if you want to just test it, you could always do it with your cheaper papers. So if you want to see what it looks like inside, that's what it looks like. A little twisty, turvy, and then you can see this, how it kind of lifts up. So we're on the last tab. Remember, we're part of this, where this seam right here will be hidden by this, the edge of this. So it's not perfect, it's all good. So we're going to fold that last tab in as we glue this last tab inside here. And then we can just flip it over and add glue to the other side here. And then we'll just match it up. So again, if you wanted to glue this whole thing, this round, and you're very versed in doing it, I just chose to show you one method. You go ahead and do it, but just the nature of this, as you go around and it's kind of curved, that's why I did it tab by tab. So you can see now, let me get one of these boxes here. Oops, put it there. Kind of like a vanilla, let's say we're going to put like a vanilla cupcake with pink frosting. So there it is. So let's go ahead and put the panels on. So this is the same as the other one. The only difference is the shape. So we curled it a little bit. We want to get as much glue at that tip as possible. Really not, but light. You don't want it too heavy. And it's not really curled around here because I wanted it to basically be able to see where it fits easily in the panel. Because right here, so you can see that little short part there and the long part down here. So the little short part starts up there. Get at the tip, line it up. So start there, then come down. And you can see it's kind of lining around. This one's a little bit different. Like I said, any curly curve in it. You see I'm lining it up to that edge right there. And this just comes down below this. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It is a craft. It's just a different look. I wanted people to be able to use this for a while rather than just having a file that looks the same. So if you want the simpler part, lid, you can go ahead with the simpler lid. So here I'm going to show you one more, and then I'll put the rest of them on. You have to watch me put every single one on, but you're going to want to take your time to put them on and center them. And I'm kind of going, like I said, start at the top and kind of reach in, rub it to get it set. And it seems awkward, but you're kind of going to fold it around And you're going to see that little gap. That's okay. I just want to make sure it's in place all the way down. So it's going to kind of have a little curve around it. So I'll go ahead and put the rest of them, and I will be back. So I'm finishing up this last panel, putting it on, and curling it over. So you can see the effect, and especially it's been embossed with the little swirls embossing folder, which is kind of fun. So the other thing that I found with the design, it was just a kind of a accident. You could also push that top down a little bit if you want it down, and it kind of stays down sometimes, but the one that's been done for a while stayed down for a while. But that'll give you something to put. And I'm going to end up putting a strawberry on it. So, and then putting a little bit of glitter glue to highlight these little swirls. And then it'll be done. So, this is not part of the file. This is an image that I got from Cricut, the Cricut library, and I actually just modified it and put it together to make this little like topper. So you can do a lot of that depending on what you want to do. It does kind of fall over if you're playing with it. So here's this finished one right here. I mean, other than I'm going to add a little bit more embellishment. Like I said, you could add twine, fun stuff like that. So here are the two different versions that we made today. Again, the bottom's the same. I'm just angling it. So when it's sitting like there, it's just a little gift box. So kind of easy, fun. Like I said, the one with the little swirls like this is harder than the other one. And so we have all four of these two, and these two. So you can see the different different effects you can get with different embellishments and embossing folders. And of course I didn't put any toppers on it, so I'm going to put toppers on those. So I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give me a little thumbs up below. I'd appreciate that. If you did like them, I want to know what you like so I know what to make. And I thank you so much for watching.